That's Lacey. Okay. Beautiful. For more love for them. So good morning. Welcome. First of all, I want to acknowledge my spiritual and blood brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, who is the minister of the Agape International Spiritual Center, which, of course, where they came from. And my other brother by another cosmic mother, Reverend Keith Horowitz, who is the director. And Patricia and Jessica, the facilitators. And I am Akili Francis Beckwith, and it's my honor and my pleasure once again to just share with you. And really? Is that an affirmation or getting out of here? Which one was it? Anyway, so what's the topic? The topic for the month is from darkness into light. Yes?
Yes.
And the topic today is I am the light of the world. But first and foremost, I want to start not from darkness into light, from light through the darkness back into the light. Let's start with that. So as you sang about, as Stephen Wilde wrote about in the Inner Visions, and as beloved Coco prayed from and prayed about, there's not anything I need to add, but I'm going to. Because I want to add my flavor to this already known frequency of absolute love. So in the beginning, God. Yes? Whatever we call it, doesn't matter. Invisible, unknown, way back there beyond our knowledge. God. Darkness spoke itself into light. We came forth. Came through what is called the incarnation. Metaphorized in many ways. The Master Jesus coming into a manger. Coming into the darkness of incarnation, and eventually resurrecting and ascending back to light. That is our walk. The whole metaphor of coming from light through darkness into light is metaphorized in more than one way. Metaphorized in the astrological signs. We all come in through all the astrological signs, master them all, and become our real selves again. Now, one of the caveats of coming into the darkness or through the darkness, and I'm going to keep saying that so we don't think that darkness is our origin or even our destiny. Our destiny is light. When God spoke forth light and said, let there be light, that's us. So we didn't actually come out of the darkness. We are the light of God. I'll get into that more later, hopefully. So, the metaphor of coming into incarnation. It's written in the Bible about different people begot so-and-so and begot. That's all just talking about us coming into incarnation, coming into a story in which we will transform our lives and become the Christ again. Because when we were originally created, when God created its Son, it meaning the whole male-female energy emitted itself. The Son is us, is the Christ. That unimpeachable, that it's almost ineffable, unknowable. The words can't even describe it, but it's what we know as God in our own heart. So that is the Son. We are that. So the trip, the journey from light through darkness back to light means it's inevitable that we're going to return to our Christed nature. Even though we have to, that's the caveat. We had to turn off our memory when we came into incarnation. When I came into my mother's womb, I had to turn off my memory so I wouldn't remember I was the Christ. And I had a story of my whole family, and that's the darkness that I had to walk through. Make sense? All the seeds that I planted unknowingly and knowingly, I had to harvest, experience, get the juice out of them, reject the unloving stuff, and accept absolute love and continue to walk. So as I mentioned, the astrological signs, I'm talking esotericism, of course, but in the beginning, when we came into time, we were supposed to just go through each sign twice and master ourselves. But clearly we didn't do that. Nobody's laughing. Oh, clearly we didn't do that. We're still in the process of mastering what is already ours. So we had to let go. We had to turn away from what we knew in order to come through the darkness and choose the light. We've talked about this in the Course of Miracles many times, about why would we have this experience? So that we could be who we really are consciously. Now, the metaphor of the Garden of Eden, or in the mind of God, we knew everything, we had everything, if we thought, there it was. But when we came into incarnation, oh no, our thoughts didn't immediately manifest. So we didn't actually realize we were thinking what was showing up in front of us. We had to go through incarnation. We had to go through the darkness of not knowing ourselves in order to remember ourselves. So in that way, the game is good. As I say in the Course in Miracles, we're playing a game we've already won. Why? Because God created us. As Stephen Wilde said in his Inner Visions, we are the image and likeness of God. Our energy is the image and likeness of God, not our body. Our body is a projection of our own mind so we can move through time and space, have the experiences we need to have, learn, and then return this body back to the dust and back to our spiritual nature. So, from the light, in the beginning God expressed itself as everything. Everything seen and unseen, God is. I love that. I love feeling that. I love seeing it in my heart and mind. It means that I'm a part of that. I have nothing to forgive. I have nothing to apologize for if I acknowledge that truth about myself. Now, through the darkness, yes, I do have some stuff to forgive. Because in that darkness, meaning in that unconsciousness, I did some stuff. We all did. When I say I, I'm speaking about you too. We walked through unaware of the laws of the universe, so we did everything. Everything you can imagine. All the destructive stuff, all the so-called live evil stuff. But in this dimension, forgiveness allows us to look at that and say, oh, that's not me. I did that in unconsciousness. I forgive that. I choose love. I identify with my true nature. I identify with the Creator that created me out of itself. Now, I made up a little pseudo-identity, and that's when I did all that stuff. Rightfully so. Hear me when I say that. Purposefully. We came in to do everything so we could have that in our cachet, in our soul box, so to speak, of experience to draw upon when needed or necessary. And when no longer necessary, empty it out with forgiveness and stand in my pristine nature, my pristine consciousness that I did not create. How can I clean up something that I didn't create? I just need to step back in alignment with what the Creator is doing, as and through me, and let my stuff go. My stuff is temporary, unfulfilling. I'm going to say that again. Unfulfilling, temporarily fulfilling. I'll say that. But the divine stuff, the divine guidance, the divine love, the divine compassion, the divine understanding, that is my real inheritance. That's what I want to draw upon to live this life. So when I eventually move my way through the darkness, back to the light, I can look back and say, that was good. Because in the beginning, when God expressed itself, it said from Alpha to Omega, it's all good. That means anything inside of the Alpha Omega is good. It may not feel good. It may not look good. It may go on for months and years not feeling that way. But at the end of the cosmic day, when I return to my real consciousness, I'm going to look back and say, that was good. That allowed me to flex my spiritual muscles, my Nautilus machine spiritually, so that I could really remember and reveal the presence of God. So that brings us to, I am the light of the world. Have you heard people say that? Have you said it?
Yes.
Did you mean it?
Yes.
What did you mean? Sometimes. Tell the truth. Sometimes it's an affirmation. Sometimes it's a hope. I think I'm the light of the world. If I'm not, I know Jesus got it. What? Wow, you guys are laughing at nothing. Okay, that's cool. That's good. Because It's a good point you made. There are requirements to be the light of the world. It says in the Bible that do not hide your light under a bushel. What is the bushel? Physicality, grievances, judgments, self-judgment, condemnations. You cannot be the light of the world walking around with a bunch of judgments and grievances and a false identity. That's the bushel. You follow me?
Yes.
So when it says do not hide your light under a bushel, it means give up the bushel, come from around it, and stand and let your light shine. But if you don't know that, you'll hide under a bushel not even knowing that you're hiding because you think that's my identity. But oh no, I'm remembering now. I didn't create myself, as it says in the Course in Miracles. I was created in light for light. That is what makes me the light of the world. Not me just saying it, not me just reading it, or even being a good cheerleader for people who I think are the light. No, we have to be a hollow transparency for the light. Look, it's coming through. It's coming through. And if I, Akili Francis, am holding on to a bunch of judgments, that light ain't coming through. It might come through articulated beautifully, oratorically. But the real light of God, the light that heals everything, that restores everything to its true and proper nature, oh no, that has to flow through me because I didn't create it. I'm the benefactor and the beneficiary. When I say I mean all of us. I'm talking about the I am presence. When God revealed himself and said, I am to Moses, or to Akhenaten, depending on what history you believe or are familiar with. I was always talking about our true eternal nature. Yes. So, light of the world. Hide not your light under a bushel. Grievances, judgments, anger. I didn't get what I want. Let's lay our bushel down. I was watching, I watch a lot of movies for metaphorical purposes. I was watching Robin Hood. And long story short, they came out of the bushes to protect themselves. They were hiding behind bushes, and then they came out. Me metaphorizing that, got to see, oh yeah, they had to take their life from behind a bushel. They had to come out and be their true selves as warriors of the light, which I think all of us are because we're here at Soul Center. So, letting go and allowing the light to flow through us. Hollow bones. Do people know that birds have hollow bones?
No.
That allows them to fly?
I want to fly.
Yeah. Well, we have to learn to be hollow. And what does that mean? That means I have to give up my false identity, first and foremost. Give up, I use the word grievance a lot because it's in the Course in Miracles, and me be a student, that word is just right there. Whatever words you use, my anger, my judgment, whatever, what I don't think is going right for me, that is a grievance. When I let go of that, and I won't let go of that until I turn to my divine nature and do some study as we have done, and realize, as Arne's saying, it's always all good. The light is good. It comes through the darkness, it's still good. It's always good. I have to learn to let my eye be single so I can see the good. If I continue to look through the lens of my grievances, my lack of forgiveness for myself, I will always see through two eyes. But when I'm willing, as Stephen Wilde wrote about, when I have a little bit of willingness to just lean forward to what is already there. Now think about that. The Course in Miracles says just a little bit of willingness. What does that imply? It implies it's already done. I'm already the image and likeness. I'm already love incarnate. What is preventing me from being the light of the world? What is preventing me from being the joy of the world? What is preventing me from experiencing everything that is my rightful inheritance? Me! My own thinking, my own choices, my own choice of identity. That means I get to choose again. You know what? That's not working for me. Let me go back to my divine identity and look at this differently through the lens of God, through the lens of wholeness, through the lens of love. And then all of a sudden, everything that's in my life that appears to be blocking the divine flow disappears because it's only being held up by my attention, my lack of letting it go, which is forgiveness, and my lack of turning away from it. As we've talked about in the Course of Miracles, Jesus the Christ did 40 days in the desert. You read about him? 40 days in the desert. It's a long time to be in the desert. That means there was a compelling argument that he had to deal with and choose. And since he is our example and our elder brother, I'm doing the same thing. We have to choose. That allows us to be the light of the world. When we actually look, listen to the compelling story of separation, of blah, 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 and then say, that was pretty good. But I'm listening to my Father and Mother God on this side. Get behind me. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to choose my real identity and accept everything that comes with that. Right relationships, harmony and balance in every area of my life. All of those things that we seek in the world first can be caught inside of our heart and allow it to express itself. Some people call that mysticism. I call it law, outpictured. It's a mystical experience, practically revealed. Form follows function. My function is to love and forgive and to allow the expression of God its full sway, and the form will follow. Here's the soul center. People wanted to forgive, wanted to have a spiritual practice, wanted to be in community so they could share love. The form followed. So if right?
Yes.
So if my function is to forgive and to love and to share and to celebrate and to sing and to dance and to write, the form's going to follow. That's none of my business. My business as the image and likeness of God, my meaning yours and mine, is to simply align with that. Do the proper study so I know what I'm doing or being first and foremost. That's form as well. Doing comes from being, just as having and being are the same thing. God and only God. Spirit and only Spirit. Invisible and only invisible. Whatever we call it forth as the activity of our life and our experience, which has to be the life of God, because that's all there is. So isn't that amazing? When I was driving in the freeway on the 405 this morning, all of a sudden the clouds parted and there was the sun. And I just started laughing. I said, oh, there's my talk today. I am the light of the world. I didn't create that. That light came through. And I get to stand here and allow that light to come through me by just standing in the being, as I'm going to say it, Reverend Coco said. Standing in our being. Just being. No desires, no cravings, nothing is lacking, and nothing has been withheld from me. Because in the image and likeness of God is everything. Everything I could possibly imagine. Why not accept that? Why not turn to that? And say yes, and thank you. Not yes, let me try to figure it out. What do I do now? Yes, and thank you. That intelligence, that love, that integrity, that is what brought me to this moment, in spite of all the darkness I've walked through. All of my experiences of lack, limitation in every area. It's all been purposeful so I could get here. I, meaning you and I, and turn and say yes and thank you. You created me out of yourself. Therefore, I want to trust you know what you're doing. And if I read all the scriptures, it says you do. I'm the one that was confused. And now that I have the keys, metaphysically or spiritually, to unlock those doors of consciousness, those scriptural readings, we have the keys written on our heart. We can read the Bible if we have the keys. We can read the Torah if we have the keys. We can read the Quran if we have the keys. I'm talking about the mystical keys, not just, oh, I understand what English means. I know what that means. No, deeper than that. The Course in Miracles says words are symbols of symbols. Therefore, the words we're reading are symbols of something that's invisible. We want to go there. We want the words to lead us back into our heart, where we feel the presence of God. We know the presence of God. Yes?
Yes.
I was thinking just a few minutes ago, even as I was speaking, I'm observing myself speak. It's funny. I was thinking about, now I can't even remember. Must not be relevant. Must not be relevant. We're trying to bring it back though, because it's a good point. Anyway, I guess it's not. Oh my goodness. Only love is real. Let's just start with that.
Yeah.
Only love is real. Everything else is an optical illusion. I was thinking right now, earlier I said, let thine eye be single, and their body shall be full of light. Did you know that this body is you're able to see through your pores? I know, everybody doesn't know that. But a esotericist did some research and taught blind people to see through the body. And they were actually seeing through their pores. So just think about that for a second. Our eye is single, meaning I'm in alignment and in tune with the infinite creator, the spiritual eye. Therefore, if I'm looking through the spiritual eye, everything I see, this is so good, everything I see is through that divine lens. So of course, this body too would, since it's what is it? A means of communication, a device to communicate, a device to see our beloveds, to touch them. We can't do that in spirit. We're energy. So in this physical density, I get to touch Coco. I get to see her form. So in that is the God presence expressing. And my job, my function, yours and mine, is simply to remove all obscurations from that sight. Let me say that again. Our only function here is to remove all obscurations from that spiritual sight. And then game over. Well, not game over. Now we can play the game. That's even better. We haven't even started playing because we're so caught up in separation, a sense of separation. But once we heal that and see, I'm not separate from God, I'm not separate from Coco, I'm not separate from Patricia, we all live in a unified field of absolute love and awareness. Once I accept that and make that my practice, that's when the game is over. That's when we can play nuanced game. We can see, oh yeah, I've already won this game. Now what's really going on inside of the game? What purpose does my story serve? My story, as Akili Francis was masterfully crafted. Ooh, okay, go ahead. Masterfully crafted by my higher self so that I could learn who I was. Let me say that again. Each one of our stories are not accidents. That's kind of hard sometimes. It was masterfully crafted by you, your soul, your being, and your higher self, the God presence, so that you could heal whatever you held in consciousness and reveal the presence of God. That makes us the light of the world. So when you look at your story, let's do that now, just for a hot second. Let's identify first, who created me? Breathe that in. Did I create myself? If I'm an egotist, I'll say yes, but we're not. We're humble aspirants. Okay, God created me. Therefore, this story can't be true. It has to be temporary. It has to be for me. As Reverend Coco prayed, it has to be a gift. Now, my responsibility, and I have the ability to turn, to breathe, and to be with the presence. And then look at my story, as horrible or as wonderful as it is, and see with the divine lens what needs to be released and what needs to be embraced. And as I say that, nobody has a better story than anybody else's. They're all temporary. They're all purposeful to wake up to our spiritual nature. This morning I was at Agape and someone was speaking about, the reading was about the Buddha. And the Buddha simply means to be awake. And we were charged with waking up, not talking about the Buddha or praising the Buddha, but being the Buddha by letting go of false identity, letting go of false judgments, all that muck of the world, and accepting what was given us in creation. Is that a sign? It is. From the light through the darkness, back to the light. That's where we are. That's our choice. That's our gift. Start at the beginning. Who created me? Study from there and allow Spirit to reveal itself in ways it never has, so that you can actually, truthfully say, I am the light of the world. I am presence, not I am Akili who has two parents, but my parents are Father and Mother God. That is what makes us the light of the world. The God presence flowing through us, unencumbered, hollow-boned, allowing us to fly in our true nature. That's it. And so it is. I'm going to invite the ushers up. Before the ushers come, give me this little just for I want us to anchor whatever vibration hit you, whatever you receive. Breathe it in and anchor it in your life, so that when we leave this place, we didn't hear somebody talk, we didn't just hear wonderful, uplifting, insightful music, but we were transformed by our choice. Our choice to accept our true nature, our true identity. Oh yes. And allow that to go before us. One more breath. Yes. And thank you. Amen. Now, who does this? Me? I'm going to listen. I'm going to introduce the ushers. These are the ushers. I just have too much fun and I'm never going to stop. You know, when we're talking about the Buddha at Agape, I identified myself as the laughing Buddha. And I've always said I'm going to laugh my way to the kingdom. So when I stand here and giggle and laugh, that's part of my spiritual practice. To maintain my vibration, my focus, and my frequency, no matter what goes on. Okay? So, go forth.